3 lessons the military has taught me. Welcome back to the Absolute Beast podcast. Today, we're going to cover 3 lessons that military has taught me thus far. Now, just a bit of a backstory about my life. The TLDR version. I worked in retail for 2.5 years, cold call sales for a year, was a CrossFit coach for 3 years, and now I'm employed by the military, and have been for about 4 months. Of course, my career in the military has just begun, but basic military training taught me some vital lessons that civilian life could not. Lesson 1, the team always comes first. The Army designs tasks to be completed as part of a team. These certain tasks are generally impossible for you to do solo and succeed. They set ridiculous time limits for almost impossible things to complete, but the further you get through your training, the more tricks you learn to the trade, the more you combine your abilities as a group, and the better you work together. A lot of the tasks initially in your first 2 to 3 weeks are pretty intimidating, even from the most simplest thing like morning routine, making beds, getting shaved, getting dressed in a certain amount of time, which over the course of your training decreases throughout, is impossible to do alone. Going jack on your mates is a terminology that's brought up in the military quite a lot. Jack is essentially a selfish term for someone who doesn't work well with the team or chooses to do something for their own personal gain at the impact of their teammates. Going jack is probably one of the worst things to be called in the military as far as it goes, and people who are generally picked out for this are usually letting the team down by quitting a certain task or lagging behind and not trying. This is essentially what breaks down these almost impossible timelines and these tasks that require every member to work to almost perfection to get right. One of my favorite parts of the training course was the obstacle course, where there were certain components that were only completable if you worked together. And the teams that actually worked well as a team would show it at the end of the course, be able to complete it under the time cap compared to other teams who may be more physically gifted, but because they weren't working well together, it just wasn't working out. One of the crazy things about the military is it brings a whole range of personalities together. People who are really unlikely and probably would never even decide to hang out outside of military life in the civilian world. These type of people grouped up and are put together in rooms with no specific order, mostly alphabetical. It puts you in a bit of a uncomfortable area because you're with people that you're not normally working with. You know, people who are big gamers aren't with big gamers. They're normally with people who are more outgoing and enjoy life a little bit more, whereas people like me, who was really fit, was with a bunch of outgoing, drinking, lads who, just love to, get out in the town and enjoy themselves. Whereas I'm like, fitness is life, where's the protein? So it definitely brings camaraderie together because you're all there for the one reason, and that is to get through basic training. The last point I want to come across with the team always comes first is the kind of people you are with, they come from all job roles. So even though you might be in infantry, someone else will be in band corps, whereas someone's a chef. So even that makes it more variety of the kind of people you're going to be put up with, not just a bunch of people in the same exact group you're in with the same mindset. So working with those people can be difficult at times, but they do bring strengths to the table that you might not. That brings us into lesson 2, attention to detail. The instructors loved nitpicking the smallest things. In your first couple of weeks of training, you are getting smoked and constantly reamed for having the slightest crease in your bed, the tiniest piece of dust on the floor, a seam on your shirt. You don't even know what the hell a seam is at that point. Like, I was getting roasted one day in the hallway because I had a seam coming out the bottom of my collar. And I'm like, what the hell is a seam? The longer you go into the training, the more you understand the importance of attention to detail. How vital essentially being immaculate at this specific skill can lead to saving someone's life or even your own. In the moment, you're dealing with like dress and bearing, trying to look really nice, making sure, everything's straight and then to, a specific percentage. Like you had to fold your bed sheet over to like a 30 centimeter ruler. It doesn't seem that important in the moment, but when you start getting into the more dangerous side of military training, that attention to detail is probably one of the most important points I want to make in this video. Now, how do we transfer this to civilian life? It could be the simplest thing as locking your doors before you go inside, making it a habit for you to do those small things, because that one day you don't lock your car door, which is what happened to my missus, is that someone ravaged her car. Thank God she had nothing in it, but still it was that point that she didn't have that consistency of locking her door when she went inside. Attention to detail could lead to greater consequences down the track, and they jam it down your throat, especially from day one all the way to the final day of your training. You just get better at picking up why and how vital and how important it can be to make sure that you're doing all the little things correctly, because the big picture is what you need to worry about, not so much those small things. But getting those small things right will make sure that you and your mates stay safe. This leads us into lesson 3, and this is probably the more realistic lesson for myself in the entirety of my military training, which was enjoying the little things. The big thing when you go into military training, which you all expect, is a restriction of privileges. You get there, you lose your phone, you pretty much lose any status that you had. Cool, I have a YouTube channel. Cool, I was a coach at a gym. Cool, I had all these friends. Cool, I was super fit. Cool, I really enjoyed watching Jeff Nippard. Cool, I loved chilling out with my girlfriend on a nice weekend, going out with my mates, chilling, eating nice food, going to beaches. Cool, you now have none of that. That has all been taken away from you. You get told when to shit. You get told when to eat. You get told when to train. You get told when to wake up. You get told when to go to sleep. You get told what to wear. And the most important part is you get told what to do. You lose all privileges. Everything you think you want to have is gone. You are now military. One of my favorite quotes from one of the staff that was training us at the recruit establishment was that someone asked them, hey, am I allowed to have my phone? I want to call my family. It's my birthday. And he smiled, turned around to the person saying this and grabbed his own shirt and was like, you see this color, mate? Green. This is your family now. Even having 20 minutes of phone time was amazing. It could almost make or break your emotions in that point of time in that week. There was some days where, you were getting hammered every day, retraining happening. You were just getting screamed at, getting nothing right. You felt like you were a piece of crap. That 20-minute phone call to my partner, it literally changed it. I was like, yeah, I've got all I need to go for another week. There was points in time where I was pack marching up hills and I was struggling, 30 kilos on my back, got my weapon on my front. We've been going for like 7-8 Ks. It's freezing cold. It's, negative 1 or 2 degrees. And I'm just like, why am I doing this to myself? And all I would picture at the end of that little road, at the end of that mountain, at the end of that range, at the end of whatever was in front of me was seeing my girlfriend. Even just seeing her for one day motivated me enough to get through those tough times. Enjoying the little things was even down to the point where I could buy a Snickers bar on one of our days leave, which we only had like a few hours out. But just that little thing was that little bit of just, civilization back, coming out of prison, being able to see the smallest thing, have a couple of minutes on the phone talking to my partner, not knowing when that phone call will end, or even just having 20 minutes of relaxation where the staff weren't just reaming you for just being a pathetic human and never getting anything right. Enjoying the little things is something that I've carried onwards from that basic training. The time I get to talk to with my partner, the little jokes I have with my mates, the enjoying food, the enjoying exercise, being able to train on my own accord. Yeah, I'm currently under a lot of COVID restrictions at the moment where I'm pretty much working out in my fucking apartment. But at the same time, like, this is still more free will than I've had in a long time. And As a civilian, every day you have free will. You can do exactly what you want with no repercussions. No one's telling you what to do. People think that they're like stuck in their crappy job. They're stuck living this like restrictive life because they've got bills or they've got a mortgage to pay. But at the end of the day, like, no one's holding you back. I was in an area where, yeah, I could technically quit, but outside of that, I had no control over anything. And even just a little taste of a bit of that civilization would give me enough motivation to keep going for a week. So when you look at your own problems, try and enjoy the little things. Yeah, you might be working a job you don't like, but that 1 or 2 hours you get per night, you could be working on something, a hobby that you could create into a job in 2, 3, 4 years' time. These are the simplest things that allow us to progress as humans forward. Maybe even just coming home and seeing your partner at the end of a stressful day is what you need. But imagine having a stressful day and not coming home, still being stuck at work overnight, back in the next morning, getting woken up and being back into work again. Enjoy those little things while you can. I know I have, and it's been a long time still since I've seen my partner. I got to see her for 1 day and that was amazing. But since then, it's still been nearly a month and a half since I've seen her. But even just talking to her every now and then has been enough for me to keep going and keep focusing on progressing through my training, putting YouTube videos out, doing these podcasts, and just trying to help as many people as I possibly can. Out there thinking about joining, like, don't leave it off. Like, do it now, but just be prepared. Even for myself, I knew it was going to be tough, but the level of difficulty it was, I couldn't explain to anyone, because it's all going to come down to the individual person. Some people excelled at basic training. Some people struggled. Some people had too much to hold on to at home, or some people didn't think it was for them. But you're never going to know until you try. Look, if you enjoyed this podcast, guys, make sure you like it, share it with a friend. It does help the podcast itself. Check out my website, absolutebeast.com, for any program needs. Also, YouTube channel, Absolute Beast. If you want to check out my latest videos dropping. Thank you guys for listening, and I'm going to see you guys on the next Absolute Beast podcast. You guys at home, stay a beast. I'll do what it takes to make you believe. With my whole life a drive, we do what we want, but when I'm free, with our hearts on hyperdrive.